Awesome. So welcome everybody. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jan Lehman. I'm the owner of CTC Productivity. And with me today, I have Walter Jankowski. He's one of my team members, wonderful team member, my process guru. He's the fun one on the team. Nancy Kreschke is also on the call with us. She's not presenting today, but she's on the call. So we want to welcome you. We've been doing a webinar series over the last few months on how to be productive in this virtual world. And we started off with high-level explanations around Microsoft 365, around kind of what the apps in general did. And then we've been doing a deep dive on all the various apps. And then we're pivoting a little bit for this session and the session next month, and possibly after that, is we're really giving a focus to managers. We're hearing a lot of feedback in our coaching conversations that managers are really struggling with accountability and how to keep track of what people are doing and all that good stuff. So we're going to do a little bit of a pivot. So today the focus is managing and leading in a remote workforce. And then next month, we're going to focus on how to run an effective meeting. So again, staying in that focus on managing and leading. And if you want to register for the that second one, go ahead. I just entered into the chat a link that'll take you to our webinar page. And that's where you can look at all the past recordings, and also as a place where you can sign up for any upcoming recordings. While you're there, please check out our new website. We just launched a new website this week, and I'm super excited. So that is the plan. Just so you guys know, the sessions, how they work is we're going to do 20 minutes of kind of a deep dive. Walter's really going to be talking more in a monologue. When we do training, real training, we are much more interactive, but the goal of the webinar is kind of short content. And so Walter's going to do more of a monologue. While he's talking, please enter any questions you have into the chat. And then when Walter's done, we'll kind of wrap up with the presentation portion and we'll switch over to Q&A. So we're glad you're here. So before we start, I have a couple slides that I like to talk about. Often what we find is leaders are very unaware of the waste in their organization. And so we love sharing this particular statistic from the Wall Street Journal that talks about the fact that office workers are wasting on average about half their workday because they weren't taught organizing skills. So this is about organizing your time, organizing your calendar, organizing your digital data, your priorities, your tasks, everything. And so we have great job security because this is what we do. So we love this slide, but there is huge areas of opportunity for you, especially to leverage the Microsoft 365 technology. The next slide talks about the fact that most companies barely scratch the surface of really leveraging their technology. We see this today in just email. I mean, email's been around for 20 years and we're still training people on how to effectively leverage the tools within email. And so you can imagine what that percentage probably is for Microsoft 365, this newer technology. So again, we're super excited about the potential and happy you're here. And on that note, I will turn over to Walter.
Good afternoon. Walter Jankowski, reinvention consultant with the CTC Productivity. We just did the background. So if we're talking about leading and managing your workforce in a remote workplace, I'm going to step back and we're going to look at developing your organization or your department's key performance indicators and having some kind of measures. Because if you want to manage your overall performance, first you got to determine what it is that you are that you want to measure. Then we're gonna switch over and show you kind of how to use Microsoft 365, and I'll show you just some examples and actually not how to. I'm going to show you some best practices of using Power Apps and lists and setting up your work order request ticket systems. Then how do you track your organization's and or department's performance dashboard with Power BI? And then overall, how do you manage your actual department or your organization? What are the things that you should be looking at and doing? And then we'll close it off.
Hey, Walter,
Okay. Yeah.
I always forget something in the intro. So something to know is we do kind of, in this session, expect that you have a basic knowledge of some of the things within 365. So we apologize if this is going over your head. Again, if you're kind of feeling a little lost, we'd recommend you go back and maybe watch some of the earlier webinars, and then you can rewatch this one. But we definitely are kind of starting off with an expectation you might know a little bit about the technology already.
Excellent point. We specifically took out the intro to Teams and SharePoint for this. So if you need to go back and look at that, by all means do. So I love this slide because it has kind of the world of Microsoft 365 on it. And today we're going to look at SharePoint and Teams, and then Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power BI. And all of these items are with it. If you have Microsoft 365, you have these apps. They're available to you, and I'll show you some examples of how you use them. All right. So I'm going to step back and look at key performance indicators. So and the kind of the process for developing your organization. So as I talk today, I want you to think about this is not just for your organization, whether it be a healthcare or manufacturing or a law firm or whatever. All of you have key performance indicators. And so I want you to think about it as this can be for your your organization as a whole, or it can be for your department. And then it can actually have drill down capabilities to individual performance. Okay. So I want to start with if you haven't heard, there is a methodology out there called a balanced scorecard. And what this basically is it has the 4 areas of measures that you can look at. So one of them is customer measures. So this is customer opinion of your product or service, customer retention, customer complaints, anything that is customer related and customer giving you feedback or customer related. The other type of measure is you have department or processing quality measures. This is like productivity, quality, errors, defects, rework, speed, cost, time. These is all turnaround time. How well and how fast are you doing the work within a given department? Those are department processing quality measures. Then you have employee measures, which are learning and growth. So employee retention, employee capabilities, employee satisfaction, employee productivity, etc. Then the last quadrant in balanced scorecard is the financial, which is that can be that could be profit, growth, market share, results versus budget / operating plan. Those are all the financial measures. Now, if I were to ask you which of these do most organizations measure quite well, most of you would say financial. Almost all organizations know where they spend their money, right? But the key to the balanced scorecard is financial measures are a lagging indicator, always. And what you want to do is have leading indicators that help you. If you want to improve your financial performance, you need to have leading indicators. And what customer, department processing, quality, and learning and growth are all leading indicators. They help you have a better financial performance for your organization. So the reason I want to go through this is if you start thinking about KPIs for your organization, don't just have financial measures. You want to have a balanced scorecard. All right. So I'm going to show you an example. Here's one I've done this with many different municipalities out there. You can see there's lots of words on here. I'm not going to go through this, but you can see here are their customer measures. Here are their processing quality measures, for fire and police and infrastructure and inspection. And then here's their learning and growth and their employee measures and then their financials. And in this, we went through and we kind of put all of the measures up on the board. And then the little check marks are the ones that they actually have. The ones with the boxes, not so much. And so that's kind of the first task, is making sure that you have metrics in all of those areas. And then you determine, okay, what is most important? And so in this case, we prioritize based on what does the city council want to see And if you look at the city council measures, these are the things that they are most important, or that are most important to them. And then we focused on, this is what we want to put in a graph and put on a dashboard, et cetera. Okay, so that is kind of one of the steps in creating your KPIs. So the overall process and where you can get these measures, you think, well, where do I get my measures? Well, one of them is, if you have a strategic plan, you develop your strategy measures. How do I know if I'm making progress on any of the goals that I have set? If I wanted to increase revenue, or improve customer satisfaction, or whatever that my strategy says, you can develop KPIs around that. Second is, I can develop my customer measures. You figure out, who are your customers, what do they need, and then measure to those needs and expectations. Do they want fast turnaround? Do they want you to answer your call within 20 seconds? Whatever is important to your customers, you develop your customer measures. Then you can also develop your core process measures. You can step back and look at what you do in your organization, identify those core processes, and then which of these are key, which of these are add value, and then what does the boss care about in this process? Could be cycle time, could be defect rate, could be whatever it is in your organization, in your department. You think about what are the process related measures. Then you can put it on the scorecard. You can do a brainstorming of all of those. You put them on the scorecard, which are customer, which are process and quality, learning and growth, and financial, and then determine, are there any that are missing that we should have? Then prioritize them. You don't have to have, and actually I recommend, you don't have to have 37 measures right out of the gate. I would say 4 to 7 is a good place to start. You prioritize them, then you create and set up a data collection and presentation system, and then you regularly review progress. And then from that, you can create and adjust initiatives and actions based on those measures. Now, that is one of the keys, is you don't develop scorecards and graphs and measures and things like that. It's a lot of work to do this, but you don't just do it to have a pretty little graph. The key to developing measures is you have to take action on it. If you want your revenue to grow, you want to see that line going up, right? So you have to take action on it. That's what the purpose of KPIs and measures are. Okay, everybody got that? Now, so let's take a look at, that's the background on setting up your measures. Let's take a look at I started from how you would set up these systems in Microsoft 365. So you can use Power Apps to set up what I'm going to call your work order request system, or your ticket system. I want you to think that everyone on this call, whatever you do and whatever organization you have, I don't care what it is, everyone has what I would call work order requests. Somebody is asking you to do something, or you are doing a process. And so every time, whether you're in finance or in marketing, somebody's requesting a new brochure, somebody's asking, or you have to do monthly a reconciliation, you are paying bills, those are all work order requests. Okay, so now the key is every department should have some kind of work order request or tracking system, so that you know what you are working on. So here's an example. This is an IT department. They have work order requests, right? People call in, hey, my computer's not working. I need to reset my password. One of the key first things that you need to do in each department is develop those work order requests. So like in here, I want to submit a request. This happens to be a SharePoint site, and anybody in the organization has access to their SharePoint site. They click on submit a request, and it takes them to, this is a Power Apps form that is created. And then these are all of the requests that you can make. This is their financial system. I've got a problem with my financial system. I got a phone issue. I've got a police their mobile computer, etc. So the Power App form to select the type of work order request that you have. So if I click on Munis here, then the user would type in, here's my problem, what's the priority, and the ticket code, and what's my issue, and then you can have attachments, or these are all capable in Microsoft 365. You have Power Apps, and you can customize and create these forms. And these forms, once you create them, can be done on a computer, iPad, or a phone. So the user completes the request, and then they hit the save button. And then from that, you can write a Power Automate, or a workflow adds the request to a SharePoint list. So behind the scenes, once you have the work order request submitted, it goes into a list. And so the department will have a list of all of my IT issues that I'm working on. So here's the list of, and so when you hit submit, Power Automate automatically adds it to the list, and then it sends a notification email to the user and department queue. And these are kind of out of the box functionality when you look at Power Automate. And then the person in the department completes the request. They work on it, they look at it, they assess it, and they fulfill the request. And once they change this to complete, then a notification email is sent to the end user. That's a very typical work order request system. Okay, this can all be done in Teams, SharePoint, Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power BI. Okay. Now, once I have that list, if I have that, let me go back to this list. And let's say I am a department that is managing 500 requests a week. I would have a big long list of all of the requests that have come in. What's the status of them? How quickly did I turn it around? What's the volume by type, by category? You decide what are the key, how do you want to see that data? And from that list, you can create a Power BI dashboard to track either your organization's performance or your department's performance. So this might be a typical dashboard in Power BI. And so you can have little cards here, you can have graphs, any type of graphs, you can have maps, and the nice thing about Power BI is it is all interactive. And I'm going to show you one. This is one that I did with a client just recently. Let me go to this next slide. And here is a Power BI. This is actually an insert into a slide deck. And so you can put this Power BI right into here. And so it'll give you kind of here, this happens to be we were doing an assessment of all of their SharePoint sites, etc. And you can see here, we did, how many sites are we going to have errors and warnings on that passed, and how many sites were there in their organization? And check this out. This is the list of all the sites. And if I want to see how many document libraries I have, I can just click on that on the libraries, and lo and behold, it changes. Here, let me do something with a little less. And it changes these flagged resources down here into a PowerPoint, or it'll, as you select this, you can see how it changes based on, so all of these graphs are interactive. And in this case, we created this one. This is the by type of resource, and here's the full list of all the resources, and I can click on, I just want to see that little bit, and lo and behold, there you are. There's other types of, so just like any dashboard, you can have ring charts. You can have word clouds. Check this out. I can click on out, and I can see anytime this was, anytime that the word out was used. This will take a little bit. It's thinking. Takes a little bit longer with Zoom, but it will show me all of the responses that have the word out in here. Looks like it's taking a little longer than I'd like. Or you can click on any of it. All of these are, as I said, are interactive.
Walter, I can ask a quick question.
Yeah.
While we wait. Not a quick question. I think observation, tell me if I'm correct. So I'm going to guess for many businesses, a lot of this conversation is happening in email. And so the miss is there's no place to capture those transactional records. And so that's why you want the conversation to go through SharePoint, because then you can use Power BI off the SharePoint database. Is that correct?
That is correct. And that, Jan, you bring up a really good point. Or was that a question, or was that
I don't know. I don't know what it was. Go with it.
either way, one of the things that you want to try to do in your department is get stuff out of email, because if it's in email, you're not truly tracking it. You're not, it's pretty rare that I've seen an organization take their emails and tally them up and count them up by category and the like. Now, you can take an email and then put it into a work order request or a ticket system, right? Somebody's asking me to, hey, look into this thing or whatever it is. You make that a work order request ticket, and then you can track whatever you want. Put in category, how long it took you to do it, etc. Okay? Did that answer your question? So yes, a lot of organizations do this by they are doing it by email right now and conversing back and forth by email. Okay, let me break out of this. Hang on a second. Let me go back to my PowerPoint here. Hang on. Sorry about that. And share screen. Sorry, it was thinking about getting out of the PowerPoint. Basically, it was taking you to a website. So now once you have your dashboard, so I want you to think about your dashboard as again, you can have a dashboard for your entire organization. Then you can have a dashboard for, per department. Now, what do you do with that data? Managing performance through the data with the data. So overall, you review your department's KPIs. So you think about what are your volumes, how many work order requests do I have, production, working queue, what's in progress. I might look at financial, like what's my revenue, what's my costs, what my delivery, on time, cycle time, turnaround, quality, defects, errors, rework. Those are all you have to think about. That's what the KPI is what are those key metrics that you want on a dashboard, but then you manage to it. And so when you start seeing, ooh, I'm in the yellow, you start coming up with action items around what do we need to do to hit our goals. Now, when it comes to individual performance, all of these, you can have drill down capabilities by person. So who this work order request was assigned to, how long it took them to do it, the number of volumes that they did, etc. And what you do is you set up, as compared to your peers, you set up a feedback system to the employee, and then you can set up what I would call a rack and stack and say, here are my top performers in my organizations, and then here's the middle and here's the bottom. And then, what I like to say is I don't like to use data and individual performance as a stick. It's more of a carrot, and it allows you to look at opportunities for training, coaching, mentoring, developing a performance plan, because I'm a firm believer it's not the person that's at fault. It's other things that I'm not doing. It's either the process or training and development. And, so you can develop people to the performance that you want. And and a dashboard will help you do that. And if all of the staff know what they are measuring, I'm most likely every time, 100% of the time, I have put in, and we in CTC has put in a dashboard. We have increased performance just because staff know that they're being measured on something. And oftentimes it's anywhere from 25 to 30% just because you put in a dashboard and you are monitoring performance and you're taking it out of emails and the like. It's a extremely powerful, especially in a remote workforce. It's extremely powerful to be able to see and then compare to your peers. And that's it. I'm gonna, Jan, do you want to close it out? Or
yeah, awesome. Walter, there's already some questions coming in, so if you want to read chat while I close out.
Perfect.
So so awesome job. I know we've got some good questions already. I'm super excited to hear the answers. So just a reminder, if you thought this was helpful and makes sense to you, our next session Nancy will be doing, it's in February on the 16th, and it's on running an effective meeting, again, using 365. I'm entering into the chat again, where you can go to look at past recordings and register for the next one. And then I just have a couple of wrap-up slides, and then we're going to let Walter answer some Q&A. So we've been learning that when we do these webinars, all of a sudden people think that's all we do is 365. So I need to clarify. So we do a lot of different things. It's all around productivity and helping individuals be effective leaders. So in the consulting realm, yes, we do a lot of work around helping organizations optimize the use of 365. Walter is also one of our process improvement gurus. So think about, he does Lean Six Sigma, not in the manufacturing floor. We do Lean Six Sigma process improvement concepts in a business setting, in an office environment. So that's where we focus. And then as you saw today, we do a lot with helping companies come up with their metrics, their KPIs, and those sort of things. And then in addition to the consulting, definitely do a lot of one-on-one coaching, training, public speaking on a variety of topics kind of listed to the side here. Again, overarching theme is anything related to productivity or helping individuals be effective leaders. So it's a little bit about CTC. And now we can go ahead and flip over into the Q&A portion. So Walter, we did good this time. We were ahead of schedule by a couple minutes. So Walter, did you get a chance to read some of the questions already?
There's some really good questions out there. First one, Gail, you were talking about, where does the date come from? Is that an Excel spreadsheet? And actually, Paul had asked, can you use Power BI to pull from other data sources other than Microsoft products? Yes and yes, or yes, and the date is wherever the data is. Power BI, you can connect to any data source. If you have data somewhere, you can connect to it. They have connections to SQL databases, to web. If you can connect to any data source in your organization, if you have an ERP system and HR system, that's the first thing when you go into Power BI. It basically says where do you want your data. You can have spreadsheets. You can have, so the power of Power BI and creating a dashboard is, and a lot of organizations, when they're doing their dashboards, marketing will have their spreadsheet, sales will have their spreadsheet, production will have their spreadsheet. You can take all of those spreadsheets, put them into one place, and then Power BI just automatically reads from those spreadsheets wherever you have them, or any data source that you have. So it will, and it's, if you have it as a spreadsheet, when you update the data in the spreadsheet, it automatically reflects it in the Power BI. So the question with is the date, where does that date come from? You data. Decide.
She meant data.
What? Oh, data. Yeah, oh, okay, got it. So the date, I was like,
nice job, Gail.
Yeah. Then there's a couple of others down here. Were the dashboards you demoed created with out-of-the-box items, or was coding required to create them or parts of them? Excellent question. Power BI has many templates that you can just go grab a sales. Let's say you wanted to create a sales dashboard. They already have a template for it. You pull it in, and then you just plug in your data. And what if you are on Microsoft 365, you know that it constantly changes, and so more and more and more templates are out there. The ones that you saw with the data, we started with the template, and then we put in our data, and and then we said, you know what, I'd like to see a word cloud. Oh, I'd like to see this as what's called a card, which is this is how many of these you have. And then, I just want a graph. So whatever data you have, you just select it, and you can, it's very similar. If you know how to create graphs in Excel, it's very similar to Excel. It's almost identical to Excel, except it has a lot more capabilities that drill down and interactive capabilities.
There's one more from Paul, and you guys are welcome to unmute yourself and just ask the question too.
Yeah. Are there additional costs to connect to non-Microsoft products, like they have premium connectors for Power Automate? So Power BI, it depends on the version that you have. If you have like a premium package, like you have a business premium package, Power BI is included. If you don't, I believe it's like, boy, Nancy, do you know, like $2 or $3 a month or something to that effect? Power BI does not, I don't believe, has a charge for external connections. But if you do not have Power BI, oftentimes, or they do have a free version of it. So you can, just like a lot of the Microsoft products, you can get a free version of it. Now, it is not as robust as, if you sign up and it's part of your MS 365 package, you can download the app. It's kind of like downloading Excel, and then you have all of the functionality of Power BI. But it's relatively inexpensive. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
It's pretty cool.
I'm going to say that if you watch this and I'm going to give you a homework assignment. I want you to think about your department and what are the 3 key measures? What are the key performance indicators? What are the 3 things that your customers care about? And I don't care if you are, creating lawyer briefs, or if you are, what are the 3 things that they care about? And see if you can come up with a measure for them. And coming up with the measure is the easy part. Getting the tracking and system to display those is a little bit harder, but it's very doable. All right.
Great. Hey, Walter, just for kicks, I don't know if it's in line with the scope here, but would talking about Cortana and what you're looking at with one client be an interesting thing to bring into the mix? If we don't have any questions, if people have questions, please let us know.
Yes, I would love to. And actually, let me go to, so Cortana, what Jan just referred to, is Microsoft's answer to Cortana is Microsoft's answer to AI, artificial intelligence. And so in this case, let's say that I want to create a meeting between Jan, Nancy, and I. All I need to do is, so I'm going to put in Jan and Jan, Nancy, and then I am going to say meeting. And what I'm going to do here is CC Cortana. And so Cortana has one of the component of Microsoft's artificial intelligence is scheduler. And so in this case, I can say, Cortana, can you find a meeting, let's say a 1-hour meeting in the next 2 weeks with Jan and Nancy. Oops, Nancy. I send this off. Cortana will read that, and there's all different types of things that it can do. But in the artificial intelligence, Jan and Nancy are going to get an email notification. So right now what it's doing is looking at my calendar, and it's looking for 3 times that in the next few weeks. And in a moment here, it'll come back and it'll say, I have sent Jan and Nancy an email with 3 available times in the next 2 weeks. And then they just go in and they either delete out the times that they can't make it. And
I sent you back, Walter, what I got from you.
did Nancy, did you respond to that?
So I just forwarded you back what you sent me or what you sent out to Cortana.
Oh, good. Yeah, and so it will then look, and this normally takes about 2 minutes, and it will say, I'm finding a time, and then they respond, and as soon as both of them respond, it will automatically set up the meeting for the time that is best for the 3 of us. Very powerful.
And so Walter, pivot that back to the this conversation around KPIs and all that. So we've got a project we're doing with the help desk, and it's possible to use Cortana to spot a word in email, route emails to particular cues. So yeah, if you could kind of link it back to, it's just another tool that might help drive collecting transactional data.
Let me show you. So Cortana, at the end of the week, so KPIs, Cortana will, here it is. It's saying, here's how much time I saved you in the last 3 months. And this was back when I was just starting this, but on the average, I arranged 3 meetings for you and I saved you about an hour. And then it has, you can click and see how I calculate those time savings. So they have statistics on how long it takes people to set up meetings and et cetera. So one of the KPIs you could have is, let's say one of your goals this year is, I want to become more efficient. Personally, I want to become more efficient. First thing I do is hire Jan and Nancy and come in and help organize your Outlook and like. And then there's several different things that you can do to make, that is one of my biggest pet peeve, is creating and finding a time with, let's say 5 different people, right? Mm-hmm. It may take 10 emails to do that. With Cortana, you can do it in 1, and then it manages it back and forth.
Cool. So sorry, we went off the rails a little bit. Since we had a little time, it'd be fun. So
I just want to add a quick caveat to that, in that you do need to have a certain level of Microsoft 365 plan that includes Cortana as a scheduler. So right now, the plan that I have does not include this. And so if I want it, I have to upgrade, and I have the business standard, and I need to move up to, I think, Walter, you're on the business professional, right?
Right. And I believe the difference is, I think $4 a month.
8? Yeah, 4 or 8. I think it's from 12 to 20.
Yep. Yeah, 12 to 20. You're right.
Awesome.
You're right. Sorry about that.
All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. But we're happy you're here. Hope you learned a lot. And please register for the one next month. We'd love to see you again. So any last questions? All right. We're out of here. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, we're done.
Awesome job, Walter. Walter.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Walter.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.